This program was recorded on Monday, January the 18th, in the year of our Lord 2016. The opinions expressed by the participants in the following program do not necessarily represent that of this station or its management. From the John DeVita Recording Studio, located in an undisclosed and clandestine location on the great northwest side of our fair city of Chicago, we once again are pleased to be presenting yet another edition of our monthly roundtable panel discussion show, Meet the Chicago Historians.
More coffee.
Now, here's the guy who started it all, John DeVita.
More coffee.
Thank you very much, Rich, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from the John DeVita Broadcast Center, another broadcast of Meet the Chicago Historians on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Monday, January the 18th, the year of our Lord, 2016. Today, the panel will be talking about Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday. We will talk about his life and his legacy, and also Chicago's winters from the Great Ice Age to Jane Burns' blizzard. And now, to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Richard Lang.
And now, here's our panel moderator, Jack Red Ryan. Jack?
Yo. Please don't stop. Don't stop. But anyway, good morning or good afternoon, whatever may be the case when you're listening to us. We're just turned afternoon here, and we're certainly living up to our title about the show today. We are in the zero sub-zero sort of a mood, which isn't very unusual in January in Chicago. Anyone remember January when it didn't have something like that?
No, I was saying thank God I watched the a newscast this morning, because they told all their viewers, make sure you dress warmly, wear a coat and hat and gloves, and thank God for that, because I was planning on going out in shorts and a tank top. So thank God for our news media.
After a mild November and December,
they saved me from frostbite. They told me to wear a coat.
Where's Sam Rich?
I just said after a mild November and December,
Yeah.
we are spoiled. We can't adopt this January normal way.
That's right, and we were spoiled then. That was
That's right. Record
terrific. No
record
snow.
warmth.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess nature has a way of evening things off a little, huh?
Well, let's hope that they have a little pity on us anyway.
Sure.
You can't mess with Mother Nature.
Did you ever notice like how our minds, how do we stay here? Our minds so quickly put all that behind us when spring arrives, just so beautiful. And, you have like St. Patrick's Day, it's green, right? That's green also. Opening day at the ballpark. It can be cold days too. But
It's the exact same thing in why people forget that they keep on voting for Democrats.
Well, let's not be too spoiled, because Mother Nature has a way of hitting us in the head. It's a hell of a lot better living here than it would be in California with the fires and the mudslides and
Jerry Brown.
and Jerry Brown,
Yeah.
or Florida, or
Exactly. No
or
matter where you're at,
Alaska.
there's bad weather. I hate to say it, but I think about it whenever I see some natural disaster in another part of the country that I've been to, and people have commented on Chicago winters.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I think I'm going to go down there right now and stand in the middle of that destruction and say, okay, now let's hear it about the Chicago winters. At least my house has never floated away.
Well, and that's right. They've lost everything. The house,
Hurricane,
their memories.
tornadoes,
Forest fires.
Yep.
floods.
They lose everything and start over, and we don't have that here.
Right, like you said, Mother Nature gets everybody sooner or later.
Yeah.
I've heard in a discussion program, and maybe someone can either bear this out or tell me I'm all wet. In the Clinton administration, they started forbidding the locals from coming into the national forest. They would cut out the dead wood, the brush,
Oh,
for
yeah,
firewood.
I remember that. Jay.
Yeah, and that made it worse as far as forest fires happening and intensity of them.
Yeah, I will remember in a minute or an hour, I went by a forest preserve a day or two ago, and I looked in there, and it was all dead timber and laying around, and my God, I'm thinking, why don't they go in there and cut it all down and use it for firewood somewhere? It just just didn't make any sense, and there's no way you can get in there.
Right. But yet, if you let individuals do it, they'd do it. They'd get in there, and individual people get in there, and it wouldn't cost anything, would it? Well, anyway, we got that problem solved. Okay, it's
What's our topic today?
Okay, well, the topic for discussion is it went like this. Now, listen to this, guys. This is really first class. Life on the tundra, winters in Chicago from the Great Ice Age to Jane Byrne's blizzard.
I worked, I think, 5 days in a row during that one snowstorm, with Jane. And we couldn't leave the firehouse. We had to stay in there, and then we all volunteered to go out, and we were given shovels and do what we could around hospitals and so forth. But that was quite a adventure, and you wouldn't think about it here in Chicago, but that was the beginning of Jane Byrne.
All right, there's no doubt about it. If it wasn't for that, as a matter of fact, the local, I think it was the Emmy Awards, Jane Byrne was at the ceremony, and I believe it was Dick Kay got a local Emmy for his documentary on the Great Blizzard. And when he accepted the award, he looked at Mayor Byrne and said, Mayor, if it wasn't for that blizzard, neither one of us would be here today.
There you go.
Very well put.
And the one ad she had where she's standing on the L platform with the snow falling on her. That one. Anyway, before we get onto that too much, we do have to bring just talk about this is federal holiday, Martin Luther King Day, and his years were 1929. He was born and was murdered in 1968. And I'm going to come out and tell everybody like it is now. When those marches, whatever, started, and one thing, remember, some people never seem to be brought out today that the civil rights movement was like 2/3 white people in it. Overall, maybe not those particular marches, but you see, if you look at some well-known conservatives, Charlton Heston was among them, and others. I mean, just for the the sound principles of what it was all about. Now, I'm not going to say that those marches didn't ruffle people's feathers. It certainly did. But when you look today now, what he talked about, judge a person by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. Isn't that saying judge a person by an individual and see who's qualified for something or who is?
Exactly.
The sad part about it is that everything that Martin Luther King stood for and marched for has all gone by the wayside. They are doing exactly what he marched for not to do. I remember was it a couple of weeks ago, the new interim police superintendent made a statement about his new command staff, and he noted their race and gender. Why? I mean,
Nothing about their qualifications.
right, exactly. It was just we've got some blacks, some Hispanics, some females, so everything is going to be fine now. It's exactly what Dr. King wanted to get away from. And, I mean, it's sad.
I mean, I was listening to Dennis Prager on WIND on the way over, the conservative commentator, and he's opened up with, if you made that statement now without referencing Dr. King as the source, you'd be branded racist. Because you want to look beyond this now, and you're. I thought we're in the post-racial era, weren't we?
We're supposed to be.
Yeah, things
There's
are worse
a,
now than they ever were.
Yeah,
in that
there's
sense.
a group of ex-former firefighters that wanted to. Well, I don't know what they wanted to do. They want to get on the job, and they want to be included in the fire department hiring. And the statement from one of them, I won't name him, was that, of course, we're all for the most qualified to be on the Chicago Fire Department. Well, they don't seem to want that, really. They just want the color of their skin to be given extra marks, or to be just brought on, and that's not what King has
right.
said. He wants your qualification to be exemplary, and these guys and gals probably would be able to stay on or be accepted if they could pass their drug test and their past discretions being police records. So,
Well, one thing that you have to understand is if you're going to use testing as a criteria for hiring, then you have to be prepared for people that are going to take the test who are going to be discriminated against because they don't know the answers to the test.
exactly.
Tests do discriminate. Tests are completely colorblind, but they discriminate against the people that don't know the answers. So if you're going to use testing as a criteria, you have to realize that. And there isn't a test you are going to manufacture that is going to prevent people from not knowing the answers to the test, failing the test. It's just plain and simple. As hard as they try. I know guys that have taken the police test, and I asked him, how was it? This is a couple years ago. One guy said to me, Tom, it was unbelievable. I said, well, give me an example. Well, reading comprehension, read the paragraph below and then answer the following question. I planted a tree. The tree is beautiful. I love the tree. The tree gives me shade in the summer. I love my tree. The above paragraph is about a car, a dog. That's that. And again, people fail this.
Yeah,
They fail it.
it's unbelievable, this whole situation. And I personally don't care what color a guy is or a gal is. Like they say, if you can do the job and you know what you are doing, then you got the job.
When you're in an emergency room, you want the most qualified doctor to operate on you, regardless of his skin color,
Exactly.
religious beliefs. Yeah.
Right. Unless you're voting for president, then you want the least qualified.
Was there a time, maybe I'm thinking of just the Postal Service, that maybe veterans and even minority groups were given a certain number of extra points?
Fire
Well,
department,
Oh yeah,
too?
police department did
Yeah,
that
they used to
too.
give that.
Are
Yeah.
they still doing that, or
Not that
that sounds
not that I know
talk
of.
about reverse discrimination?
I think there is something, and I don't know how many points are that it has been brought up with this
Right.
administration that some people coming back from Iran, Iraq, and all of these places
Giving
that they're
veterans
given,
Well, I know
points.
on the
given points.
but on the
yeah.
police department when you could use the points as they were called, veterans points, you could only use them once. The affirmative action, you can use them for
Forever.
your entire life. You can get it.
Yeah.
There are guys that got on the job affirmative action, made sergeant affirmative action, made lieutenant affirmative action. So I mean, how many times are you going to use it?
Yeah. Well, it's whoever is the next president or mayor, I would hope that he would listen to this program, because we're saying it the way it is, and the way it should be, and it's a problem.
Right,
I hate
and
to see
right.
this go on to my
And
kids,
right,
my grandkids.
Exactly. The problem is, if you are sending the message that the problem in the black community are guns and white police officers, you do a tremendous disservice to the people that live in those communities, because if those are what you're targeting, those are not the problems. Anyone that's ever been there, and I certainly have been there and lived there, these are not the problems that are facing. Unemployment, if they showed a correct unemployment figure in some of the black communities around the country, it would be pretty close to 50%.
I think so.
I was talking to someone the other day about this exact same thing about the problem in the black community. And I made a statement. I said, years ago, I don't know how long ago, it was Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who became senator. He wrote an article or a book or spoke about the alarming rate of illegitimate births in the black community, and it was at 25%. Now it's at 70%, and the person that I was speaking to said, "No, Tom, you're wrong. It's not 70%. It's approaching 75%. So if you ask the question, what will help people more in the black community? Stricter gun control or more fathers in the household? What would the answer be?
Police retraining.
Yeah, right.
It's got to be the
And the
police.
thing
fault.
is, and the reason that they are targeting this gun issue, it's because it's an easy issue to speak about. Like I say, the story, it's an old story about a guy's walking down the street, and he sees someone looking on the ground, attracts his attention, so he walks over and he says, "Would you lose something?" He says, "Yeah, I lost my car keys." He said, "Well, I'll give you a hand. I'll help you look." So they're looking around. Finally, he says, "Are you sure you lost him here?" He says, No, I didn't lose him here. I lost him over there." He says, "Well, what are you looking here for?" "Well, the light's better." Well, now that's an old joke. What are you talking about guns for?
Yeah.
Because it's easier to talk about illegitimate births or education or unemployment.
The cops are also an easy target because there's really, I mean, you have your organization, whatever, but you're really handcuffed about actually speaking out in the press as everybody else in any situation. When you come upon, to know the story would be violating if I were to call my own press conference, so to speak. Although some have gotten away with it a few times, but
To operate under the premise that the police are not, white police especially, are not liked in the black community is operating under a false premise. I was a white police officer in the black community. I got along very well with people. And another person on this panel can echo my comments of hundreds of times while you were responding to a call, doing an investigation, or whatever, as a white police officer in the black community, people from the black community came up to us and said, "Glad to see you're here, officer. Come around more." John, am I right?
oh yeah, but no one ever talks to those people from the press. They talk to those out raising hell. I think your marchers are like from several different areas. One, you got your out and out gangbangers. Secondly, you got ne'er-do-wells, and then you have like the privileged who like it's a lark for them to get out. They get in their Porsche and drive to North Shore after they're done with something like that. And then the fourth segment.
That's their way of
All right.
saying, "I'm doing my job. I'm trying to."
Or it's a
change the
lark. It's a
world."
big gag,
Yeah.
Then there are the true believers. You can see those who have they've never had anything going on from their life. You should tell them. But who was it? Was it you, Tom, that said, "How can they afford to be off work now? Be down here or working?" Or other markets?
Yeah, the big marches, I said, boy, thank God they were all able to get off work.
Yeah. And then these spontaneous marches have these pre-printed signs that are uniform wherever they go. Ferguson,
It's
Chicago.
all set up. It's all set
Yeah.
up.
Oh, sure.
You know, it's all a joke. And this gun thing, gun control. You know, we never had to have it before. Why do we have it now? And how are you going to do it? How are you going to, you know, do something like this? The bangers, the bad guys are just waiting for this to happen.
They don't care.
They don't care, and they'll be. I mean, it's a career for them. An
Oh, exactly.
absolute career.
And we got guys who are doing a life a day at a time out there. And aside from the big trips, they're just being taken in and
A friend of mine was, and God rest his soul, Gene is gone. He was a judge, and he was in that part of the judiciary at one time of taking gun cases. And he mentioned to me, he said, "This is a big joke." Well, I see now in the paper that they want to put together a gun case unit in the judiciary in Chicago or in the state of Illinois, where the police will have a unit, and then they will go into court with these certain judges and that. And I thought, oh man, what are they doing? What are they doing? They're just making a joke of this thing.
The statistics on one of the largest anti-handgun proponents, Mayor Daley, not the original Mayor Daley, the son, Mayor Daley, who just left office. His statistics when he was state's attorney, which is the chief prosecutor in the Cook County, his statistics on gun arrests, prosecutions, and jail time is unbelievable. I'm going to toss it out, and I know I'm not that far off, but I'm going to say the statistic is something like 24,000 gun arrests and 14 people went to jail out of 24,000 under his. Now, I may be off by a few, but that's pretty close. So talk is cheap.
Yes.
You know, you're going to get tough or you're not going to get tough.
And another item that I got to bring up now, it's somewhat related, but every once in a while you'll see a display of all these guns were confiscated in the past year or past 6 months. 90% were probably taken from people who were only carrying them because they're afraid not to have a weapon with them where they're going, which gets back to what we were saying before. I mean, if you're going to have, and we saw it in the 60s, the more pressure there is on watching what you're doing as a policeman out there, the more you're going to be careful and it'd be less proactive, shall we say. I came up with the own idea myself. Rather than having on the car doors, the marked car doors in Chicago, the slogan, "We serve and protect," which I believe has been there over 50 years, it should say now, "We take reports," because that's what it's going to get to be. It's just,
I understand that the new thing with the police is that they have a 2, 3, 4 page report on everything that they do, and the guys are just, come on, I don't want to spend 4 hours of my 8 hours writing. I mean, that's just it's unbelievable. Now I understand that Mr. Trump has said that if he's elected, he will have the murderer of a police officer spend the rest of his time in jail. I don't know if you guys saw that in the
I heard
paper,
that,
or you heard it. And you know my situation. The guy that killed my son, a state trooper, was out in 13 years.
he's walking the streets now.
And he's walking the streets now.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And, when I read that, Nat, Mr. Trump has got my vote.
Sure.
One of our big problems in this country, not just in the city and the state and the county, is the judiciary. none of them have a set. And you know, come on, let's get tough. And that goes all the way around.
It seemed like there's too much worrying about the offender, what the poor offenders, what his depraved life or deprived life was before, both of those, not what happened, what he caused.
Right.
Well, here they gave $5 million to this family of this last guy in here, and now they're going back in the court.
Without even an attempt to adjudicate.
Yes.
Right. Just
yeah.
five right off the bat.
Yeah.
And the city council agree on this. I mean,
Yes.
Right.
That's our money.
Yeah.
Plus, it's amazing, you know, the reports that you hear on the media, and then when the truth actually comes out, and the absolute classic example is what happened in Ferguson. The original report in Ferguson, there wasn't one single thing that was true in the original report, other than the fact that the gentle giant and the police officer were in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
Other than that, there wasn't one single thing that was true. But the media reported it, and everybody bought it. They kind of had me for a while, and then I said, wait a minute. I said, something isn't right here. And and when I tell that to people, don't you think that if there was anything that Eric Holder could have hung his hat on as head of the Justice Department to charge that officer, that he would have done it? If there was anything, a shred of anything. So the original report by the media painted this officer as just a cold-blooded killer, a white cop guns down a poor black youth with its hands in the air. Wrong.
Executes him.
Wrong.
Yeah.
It wasn't true, but that's what they put out on the media. And that's the sad part about it. If anybody should have been indicted, it should have been the news reporters.
Was it CNN that started that interview? Was it a boy?
Yeah.
No. I thought they were supposed to kind of go out and check facts, check backgrounds in some of these, right?
Well, they want something that fits their agenda.
Yeah.
And their agenda is the white police are bad and
They want to sell papers.
They're looking for the sensational.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, as it's been said before, they operate on the premise, not true journalism, but never let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, the truth.
Isn't it?
Yes.
We know of an incident that happened a number of years ago with a gang fight with a high school and a dance and all. And it was the gang, the dance was letting out about 10 to 11. And one gang went after a bunch of the other kids in there, and one of the policemen, shot and wounded one of the gangbangers, who was leading the charge, by the way. Anyway, when that was reported in the Sun-Times, it said the officer was taking tickets when a scuffle broke out. That was it. Now, first place, you don't take tickets at the end of a dance. Secondly, they didn't say that the guy wasn't even a high school kid. He was a merchant marine, merchant sailor, leading the gang. So.
The thing is, being involved in what I retired out of major accident investigation, so not almost every single investigation that I was involved in wound up in the media somewhere. A lot of times it was the lead story on the news for weeks. And just knowing what I knew personally about the facts of the case, which was the truth, and then what I saw portrayed in the media, they very rarely got it right.
It doesn't match up.
Yeah, right. It just, the reports, very rarely did they get things correct.
And from the incident until the paper goes out on press, that report sits on a desk somewhere for somebody to rewrite it. And it's some mope that they have come in and just sit there and give their own version,
And again, when you know what took place, as a matter of fact, we might be going to a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about a story that was on Oprah. Yes, I guess I had an occasion to watch Oprah. That's shocking, but
I was so hard up one night in the hospital. I watched on Channel 11. I watched Out and Proud in Chicago.
But I think it's an interesting story when we
we'll come back. Are you trying to take my job or what?
Now for a brief intermission. You've been listening to Meet the Chicago Historians.
Did you know Harvey Room?
Well, friends, winter is here. And before we get any heavy snow or ice storms or rainstorms, you may want to check the roof, siding, and gutters on your home so you be sure that the roof, siding, and gutters are in good shape. You don't want mold or mildew in your attic or crawl space or drip, drip, drip on the ceilings in your rooms. You have walls damaged by a leaky gutter or bad siding. So don't have double expense. Sooner or later you're going to have to get them repaired. So call Best Brothers Roofing, Siding, and Gutters at area code 630-616-1359. Mike Besch will drive over in his shiny red truck with ladders on top and Best Brothers Roofing signs on the doors. Mike will look at your roof, siding, and gutters, give you an estimate, and go from there. So friends, don't have double expense. Call Best Brothers Roofing for a free estimate at area code 630-616-1359. That's Best Brothers Roofing, Siding, and Gutters at 630-616-1359. Call today for a free estimate. And that number once again is area code 630-616-1359 for a free estimate on your roof, gutters, and siding. Best Brothers Roofing.
Now back to our special edition of Meet the Chicago Historians. Jack?
Hey, folks, I'm reminded I've been remiss in my duties here. We didn't go around and give our lineup today, which is low, but we are lacking in numbers. We are making out in intensity and brain power. So start to my left, we have someone who's shooting. Oh, no, okay, he's not. He's having a cookie. Starting to my right. Oh, we'll start in the middle here. You've heard from Rich already, right?
Well, let's hear from the announcer. I'm your announcer, Rich Lang. I've had a background in teaching history, high school and college level, and I'm also active in a group that recreates old-time radio shows. Those were the days radio players.
Do you ever do The Great Gildersleeve? Or?
No, we haven't. No. That's a hard voice to do, Harold Perry,
Yeah.
the Gildersleeve himself.
Yeah.
We've never done that, to the best of my knowledge.
Leroy.
Leroy.
You can probably do it. But you do like Mr. Conklin, you said? Or
And
Gail Gordon, Mr. Conklin? And
what's that fellow who's always on Jack Benny?
Frank Nelson?
Yes, Frank Nelson, that's right.
Radio and television, he was, yeah. There was one Benny show, this is on television. Jack is going to go see a psychoanalyst because he keeps seeing this guy everywhere and he thinks he's imagining it or something. So he tells the story to the receptionist and they're showing, what was going on. So it's his turn to go in. Who's coming out but Frank Nelson?
Yeah.
He goes, there he is, doctor. That's the man I see everywhere. So Jack leaves a happy man knowing that at least he's bugging him. Anyway.
It's amazing how well Jack Benny transitioned from radio to TV with the same cast.
The smoothest, yeah.
They were all good on TV as well as radio, yeah.
Tom
McKenna, retired Chicago Police, lifelong friend of our moderator and host, Jack Ryan, as he was known back when I knew him, John Ryan, then transitioned into Red Ryan. He's under many names, but I am one of the few people that admit to knowing him for that length of time. That's right.
Bring a tear to my eye. Yeah, we do go back a little bit, don't we? Second grade, I think. And
Kindergarten, wasn't it?
no, I never went to kindergarten. That's why I wasn't a failure in life.
Oh, that's right.
I never got to go to kindergarten.
You didn't pass the entrance exam. I
I'm going to
remember.
go back and start over.
You flunked.
I'll start with one.
You flunked finger painting.
When my grandson starts, I'm going to go with him.
All right.
So anyway, yeah, I might as well introduce myself since I'm here. Is that okay? You done with your cookie?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Jack Ryan, John Ryan, Red Ryan. Call me anything, but don't call me late for dinner. And I was a career police officer too, like as Tom was. The only full-time job I ever had, and I've been off now I've been recovering for 14 years. So it's coming on pretty. We came on young, so in those days they had them on young, and I think they needed them. Anyway, and of course, aside from that, we did a few other. I dabbled in a few other things like union organizing. I was did our newsletter. I was the writer, editor, cartoonist. What else did I do? Editor, reporter.
And,
But,
and you forgot our coaching career.
Oh yeah, I was getting to that. We coached grade school sports together. Actually got put our own money into a lot of it, and wound up getting in the parish competition. We had a few good prospects as for football for a little school like us. Within three seasons, we had an equivalent of a Gale Sayers who gave it up. And we had a kid who didn't give it up who wound up getting a full ride to St. Rita. The first coach didn't want him; he was too small. But he wound up being All-State middle guard, Bobby Eppenstein, and he wound up going to Ball State University on a ride like that too. And anyway, we did that. What else? We played basketball, softball. Am I forgetting anything? Weights, riflery at the boys' club, all that. So, first time we flew in an airplane was together. From Cleveland to New York.
I think about the rifle team at General Wood Boys Club. Today, if you would have talked about having guns at an inner city boys club, you would have been converged. They would have been converged on by a SWAT team.
Guns bad.
But
guns bad.
Yeah, but we actually we're on a rifle team at a boys club.
I think there were a lot of those around at that time.
Well, not to get off the subject, but if we were in Scouts together also. We forgot that one, Boy Scouts, for about 12 years. Anyway, but if you go to Boys Life magazine, say in the 1950s, there was probably 8 or 10 or 12 ads for 22s or pellet rifles or something of it.
Yeah.
It was someone would have one.
Those were those non-violent guns.
Yeah.
See,
Not those bad.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, the guns got violent.
Yeah.
Not those assault rifles.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Gee, I was a scout years ago. I totally forgot. Could a scout become expert in guns and get a merit badge
think
with
there
that?
was.
Now?
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
and now you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, gunsmith. I think there was. Yeah,
Well, that probably is.
yeah.
It speaks to the change of the character of our nation. I mean, I remember one hike we went on with our patrol. One of the kids brought his 22 with us out to Palos or whatever in the forest preserves there, and he wasn't supposed to, but he did. We never told anybody.
Camp Owassapee.
Yeah.
Camp Owassapee.
Yeah,
And I remember we had...
Order of the Arrow.
Yeah. We had
Camp Stewart I was at.
bow and arrows, and I remember pellet guns.
Yeah.
Pellet rifles. That
Oh,
was
you went to
very-
Waspy or yourself?
Yes.
Which camp was it? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember.
We went to Stewart was ours.
Oh, I don't...
We're Stewart, campers gay and free, loyal sons of Chief Wassapee. We can laugh and play the whole day through. With a friendship through and through. Hail Stewart, no matter how far we may go, Stewart will always be our home. When our camping days have ceased to be, we'll praise Wassapee, Wassapee. Hey!
Hey!
All right.
I don't think I had the nerve to sing that.
I didn't sing it either. I tried to. But that's going back to August of 59. You talk about a pivotal year. August 59?
Yeah.
Sox won the pennant. Fidel Castro comes to power.
That was a great time in the Boy Scouts, and I have no idea. I don't even see kids now.
They did an interview with the warden of San Quentin. I believe I'm getting this correct. They asked him one time. They said, "Do you notice any similarities between the people that come into your prison? Either pro or con?" And he thought for a second, and he said, "You know what?" He said, I don't recall ever having an inmate here that was active in scouting." And I thought that was an interesting comment.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the discipline in scouting also. And you just don't see that now. You just don't see discipline unless you end up going in the Army, Navy, Marines, or
Discipline or
The service.
respect for authority.
Exactly. Well, anyway,
And you got to introduce yourself now.
I am now. I'm all cleared up from the cookie. I'm Bill Kugelman. I spent 46 years in the Chicago Fire Department. Ended my career there as a battalion chief, and then took over as president of Local 2, our union. But my side job always was, seems that it was in the police business, and I was the deputy director of the Illinois Bureau Racetrack Police, and enjoyed every minute of it. It was quite an era, quite a time, and I just love it. I miss it, in fact.
And you worked with a man's name was famous in Chicago police history, Frank Pape.
Frank Pape was. I worked for him. He worked for me.
Oh.
And he was quite a guy. He always wore I think they call it a plaid or whatever it was, sport coat, and he had his Smith & Wesson Chief in the pocket all the time. When Frank died and was waked, I went to the wake and the funeral, and I asked one of the sons. I said he was buried just like that, wearing that coat. I said, "Is that piece in his pocket too?" And he kind of laughed. He said, No. He said, "We're not going to bury him with his gun." I said, "Well, that's probably what he wanted."
Yeah.
Frank was a great guy.
Yeah. I never had the pleasure. I imagine if we'd stop by, he'd probably love to talk at his house when he was. Where do you live when he? What suburban location?
Park Ridge.
Was it Park Ridge?
Yeah, it was Park Ridge.
Home of our future president.
Oh boy, don't please now. Oh, I won't be able to eat lunch.
I'm sorry. I just had to say it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! You know what? There's a joke going around, and it is if you're on Viagra or Cialis, and you are that way for 4 hours, to unenjoy that, all you got to do is look at a picture of her. And
Yeah,
I really think
afterwards.
that's the truth.
You better contact a doctor if it lasts 4 hours. Yeah. Boy, I'd be happy for 4 minutes. But anyway, we digress. Okay, where were we now? Oh, we were talking about this as Martin Luther King Day. We're talking about the various situations here and how things have actually gone completely awry away from okay, we had how many? One period about 3 months ago now. 8 policemen killed nationwide in 9 days. Did anyone hear the president's news conference about that?
Not a thing.
No, there was none.
Not a thing.
Now, wouldn't you think that the bully pulpit like that could use so much good in that area? I mean, you tell people, no matter what it be, these protests or what do you want to call them, just stand down. Let us handle it. I'm the president, and my twin Eric, he's the Eric Holder is the attorney general. Let the system handle it. But no, what did
You would have when President Obama was elected. You would have hoped, and I thought that it would be a great opportunity to kind of unite people. As a matter of fact, I believe he kind of ran on that platform, and a lot of people voted for him for that reason.
For that reason.
And the sad, very sad fact of the matter is he has failed miserably. Race relations now, especially between the police and the black community, are at an all-time low, and he had every opportunity that he had to ease the problem. He failed. He did the direct opposite, and it's a sad state of affairs.
Oh, we have a caller? God, who gave out the number? That was unlisted. It's not a telemarketer, is it?
It's is this Don?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we have a caller. You're not a telemarketer, are you?
Well, I got a bridge I'd like to sell you.
Hi, Don.
Hi, how are
We're
you?
speaking to Don Figueroa, the Don of Sports,
Yeah.
and you'll be doing a show, another show this week, won't you, here?
Yeah, I'll be there Wednesday doing a show, down a sports show. What are you guys talking about? The Dr. King today and so on?
Well, we're also talking to him, and we're going to also talk about the Chicago Winters.
Wow. Yeah, the 67 one?
Not yet. We haven't got. Shh, don't tell anybody. Don't give it away. Don't give away the plot here. What's new?
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah. Our daughter was just born, and we had taken. We were going to go to a funeral, believe it or not, or a wake for a friend of mine. Got halfway there, got caught in the storm. We couldn't get back home, and our daughter was only like 5 months old, and on a formula and things like that. So wow, we had the babysitter make a formula and watch her. And we stayed overnight in a dealership. Called Long Chevrolet. I don't know if you remember
Sure.
that, Jack.
Elmhurst.
Yeah, on Grand Avenue there.
Sure.
We stayed overnight in the office there. They let us come in, and we bought out the vending machine,
But we bought a couple of cars from them out there.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
Oh, we got all kinds of dealerships up and down Southwestern Avenue, and we go out there. Oh, go figure. But anyway, I guess advertising works, huh?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, you guys have a good holiday, and that's what I remember about the winter in Chicago. Of course, there have been quite a few, but that one I think was maybe the worst, I guess.
Well, we're glad you called. Now, everybody's sitting here. Bill Kugelman is to my left. Bill?
Oh, hi, Bill.
How are you, Don?
I'm doing good. Give me a call Wednesday if you want. I always accept calls. We talk sports,
Okay.
Bears, Bulls, Sox, Cubs,
Well, I tell you what, Don, my dog Kate has got a Cubs sweater on today, and she just refuses to wear the Bears sweater.
Yeah.
So,
And next up, Rich Lang does their announcing, and he contributes big to the panel. Former high school college professor.
History teacher. Hi, Don. I'm kind of the historian on the show today.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, a lot of people, the Bears, disappointment, but hey, they have ups and downs, You can't be up all the time like the Patriots,
And to my right, have you ever met Tom? You met Don or no?
Yeah, hi, Don. Tom McKenna. I think we met once.
Yeah, hi, Johnny.
Yeah, I don't blame you for not remembering. I'm very easily forgettable,
You should give him a call because
even though my face is on Mount Rushmore.
Tom is quite an expert.
Thanks for calling in, Don.
You're welcome. Glad you have
hold on. He should give you a call Wednesday.
Pardon?
Notre Dame, the Sox, St. Rita, the Bears.
Yeah, well,
DePaul basketball.
Yeah, this business with what happened to the prep bowl.
Yep.
So maybe you should. I'll give you the. Are you working Friday? Wednesday?
I don't know. I can't.
Okay.
I can't
All right.
remember what I'm doing tonight.
I'm trying to book this in for you. I'm looking out. Always looking. Always networking.
well, all right, Jack.
Thanks for
you
calling.
guys, have a good show as always, and you do a great job for the community. So, congratulations to all of you guys. Okay.
Thank you.
And have
Thank you,
a
Don.
good
Thank you.
How about a
holiday.
testimonial?
Take care now.
stay warm, Don.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Huh.
Before I forget it, before we went to break, and I just remembered, I was going to finish an Oprah Winfrey
That's
story.
right.
Oh, yeah.
And the only reason I want to say it is because for anyone listening in, they might be saying, "Hey, what happened to that story?" This is an interesting story. I have many about people watching television shows, variety shows, news shows, whatever, and getting a kind of false picture painted about certain groups of people. This particular story, I happened to be watching Oprah Winfrey, and she had a panel on, and I believe I didn't see the whole show, but I hit it at the spot where they were talking about Chicago police brutality, and there was a young lady on the show, and she was on because she was stopped by a Chicago police officer. She was brutalized by the Chicago police officer. She was a model. She had permanent damage. She filed suit against the officer, and she told the story, and it was horrific. No, I'm listening to the story. And she had me. I'm telling you, well, she's on Oprah, it's got to be true, right? And I remember there was after she told her story about how he'd been arrested, beaten, brutalized by the Chicago police, a woman in the audience stood up. They were taking questions, and she said to this young lady, I just have one thing to ask you. Is this monster still a member of the Chicago Police Department? And the girl went, yes, he is, and broke down in tears. No, they had me. I'm telling you, it's Oprah, it's God. So I go to work, and I'm at roll call. And after I took all the harassment about saying that I was watching Oprah, I said, I wonder who that is. And they told me who it was. And it's the equivalent, in the police department, you always hear guys say, hey, that guy should never have been a cop, or he should have been a priest, because they're just, they don't have that classic Chicago police attitude. Well, this was one of those guys. And I said, so after I said, no, seriously, I wonder who it was, they said, no, it was him. I won't mention his name. And they said, yeah, that girl took him to court, filed a lawsuit against him. Naturally, she lost. After the trial, there were two guys that were on the jury that grabbed him as he was walking out of the courtroom and said, officer, we got to say something. We don't know if we can do this or we should do it, and we don't care. We want to take you out for a drink, because what you went through with that woman, and then the other guys at roll call were telling me about it. I didn't know about it. She's a psycho. She was a complete nutcase. But now, here's the point that I said all that to say this. Here was a total hatchet job of the Chicago Police Department on Oprah Winfrey that there wasn't one single thing that was true. Nothing. But went out over the airwaves, and anyone that wanted to hang their hat on how brutal the Chicago Police Department is had that tale to tell. And it wasn't true. So, again, if you're watching these stories and listening to the media, please take it with a grain of salt.
Did Oprah ever arrange a retraction on that
Of course
story?
not.
And even if she did, who would notice that?
Of course
compared to
not.
the original story.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember you told. I know who you're talking about too. I can't think of his name offhand now, but I remember.
But the guy, it was, the last person you'd think of that would do, and the reason for that was he didn't do it. She was a psycho,
Obviously believable to some people, though.
Yeah.
Tell a good story.
Yeah.
I've got an Oprah story too. After my son was murdered, my daughter-in-law wanted to go on Oprah. I think, I'm not sure, but whether they contacted her or how that got together. And she had asked me, my daughter-in-law had asked me, well, hey, I got to, I'm going to go on Oprah and tell them about John and blah, blah, blah. She said, you want to come along, Bill? I said, no. And I can't tell you what to do, but in no way am I going on Oprah to tell about what happened and that. So she ended up not going, but I thought, what a farce that would have been. What are you going to say? What are you going to do? Why do they want something like that on there?
When I first went on the job, there was some news people at the station that I worked at 48th and Wabash, and an old timer, because you're new on the job, you see the media, you think it's a big deal, and an old timer said to me, hey kid, you see those people? And I said, yeah, pointing to the media. He said, they are not our friends. And I always remember that.
I can just imagine with the police, because with the fire department, we'd get a call if they heard that we had a fire with a death or people homeless and so forth. They would call on the front phone, and they'd want to call. They want to talk to the chief, whoever was in charge, and have the story on there. And it got to the point. I don't, the guy would have to be a real mope to talk to him, but they kind of got the idea that I'm not going to talk to him for one thing. After you burn somebody's apartment or house out, and they've lost everything. No, I'm not going to talk about them. It just,
Go pound sand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wonder, was this what you just said before, Tom? And was this always this way, or was it ever when the newsboys actually worked with the police a little? Like, how it's portrayed a lot in popular fiction. I know. Where you had a lead on something, or would share information, or I wonder if that ever was true. Would anybody?
Well, in the old days, you'd see it in a lot, and you'd read about it in the novels about
That's what I mean,
the reporter, the friendly reporter that worked the so-called crime beat.
Yeah.
That was friendly.
Casey,
or helped,
crime photographer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or helped the police investigators with their in their investigation.
Yeah. On TV, Clark Kent always went out to lunch with Inspector Henderson, so
right,
like that.
No, boy.
Yeah.
Tom, is there still an active Black or African American Policemen's Association, as there were in the days of, I think it was Renault Robinson?
Yeah, as far as I know.
What are they doing to speak up and?
As far as I know, there is, but they've been quiet. I really haven't heard anything. They were, when Renault started that, they were pretty vocal, but again, I haven't really heard anything.
The ironic thing is, and I think you could bear me out on this. We worked together. I worked the same place Tom did at the beginning, and I kept going back there. I was back there 3 times. Went with the news station. We moved to 51st Street. But the police department, as I saw it, was really ahead of the curve as far as race relations goes. I mean, of course, we had guys whites who didn't like blacks, and vice versa. We had a few, we call them haters. You could tell. But there weren't that many guys. I mean, we all know there was a situation there. We don't have to tell us, but we worked together. Whatever it is, I think there was some doggone good work done too.
We got along great. That's why I say if you operate under the premise that the media has already decided on, and a lot of politicians have decided on, that the white police officers in the black community are hated. So we know that. So now let's move on. But wait a second. No, we don't know that. That's not true. It just flat out is not true. I used to tell that to people when they talk about, the blacks, they hate cops and that. I said, I stand on my record about dealing with every black person that I ever dealt with in the thousands. I got along fantastic. So the premise that black people hate white police officers is just flat out not true.
And we had some really good black bosses. Our first commander, Bob Harness, the building at 51st is named after him. He was to the black community what Frank Pape was with the robbery unit. He had this high crime unit that went around and took care of situations when they had to. And I heard him say at roll call, watch what you're doing out there, guys. I don't want to be visiting anybody's widows.
Right. I mean,
it depends on the individual.
There we go.
Sure.
And
back to what we were talking about before.
And there's good and there's bad in every career position.
Exactly.
Doctors, lawyers, engineers, whatever. And we've had it in the fire department. We do have a I don't know what they call themselves, the African American Fire Club or whatever it is, and an incident just happened here a month or two ago where we have structured the Fire Museum of Greater Chicago. This museum is at 51st and Western.
5218.
5218 Western.
Old Company 123.
Exactly.
See, I'm a fire nut.
Exactly.
Not a fire buff, not a nut. I'm not a pyromaniac. I don't mean that.
But they have been given, the black firemen asked, well, we're going to have a black fireman's museum. Well, and they had asked me at one of our programs about it, and I said, fellas, this is not General Motors or Ford or something where you merge together and that. You guys just come on in. No matter what, we have black people on the, that are members and so forth. And so they went out and they got a firehouse, and they messed up. City took it back. Now they have another one, and they wanted to come in on what I call the CFD Charities Inc. And what we do is, with our members or civilians, payroll deduction for our members, the guys can contribute, and our chaplain is I had him made the treasurer, and this was a long time plan of mine to do this, and your old boss, Phil Klein, helped me put it together, and we give out probably $10,000 a year to the 3 different units: the chaplain's ministry, the museum, and the 511 Club, which John DeVita belongs to. And here we get a letter, a note from these black guys saying that they want to come in on it. And I had a meeting with the chaplain and with our attorney, and the whole situation was they want to start a black museum, and their own people don't want to support them. So they want to come in and they'll cut out money for the 3 because they wanted to be the 4th, and the lawyer said, no, you're right on not letting them in. And because I said no.
Well, plus
it's a racial thing.
Well, plus they're not excluded from your museum.
Excuse me, it's time for another intermission. We'll pick this thought up later. You've been listening to Meet the Chicago Historians, and we thank you for it. We'll be right back.
Friends, are you looking for a place to have some printing done? Well, I have the right place for you to go, and that is the printing store in Oak Park, Illinois. Call or see Phil Berry at 621 Madison Street in Oak Park, Illinois, or call 708-383-3638. Phil will sit down with you and help you plan whatever you need printed. Now, his products are brochures, booklets, business cards, catalogs, envelopes, letterheads, flyers, invitations, newsletters, notepads, menus, mailers, manuals, labels, posters, postcards, price lists, NCR forms, sell sheets, table tents, pocket folders, and presentation forms. And the services include 1-to-4 color offset printing, digital copying, high-speed copying, graphic designs, typesetting, laminating, foil stamping, die cutting, and imprinting. And he also has a complete bindery service, which includes booklets, cutting, scoring, folding, numbering, padding, and drilling. So once again, for all your printing needs, see or call Phil Berry at the printing store at 621 Madison Street in Oak Park, Illinois, or call 708-383-3638. And once again, they are located at Madison Street and Clarence Avenue, just east of Oak Park Avenue. And it's at 621 Madison Street in Oak Park, or call 708-383-3638 and ask to speak to
Now, back to our show.
Jack?
Oh, sorry.
Now back to our show. Rich? So anyway, can you as a little break before you were telling about this radio program recreation group you have?
We perform live in front of church groups and senior groups, recreating old-time radio shows, reading from scripts with a sound effects table. It's a lot of fun on both sides.
So not only do you just speak it, but you show what goes on with the sound effects and the...
Yeah. It's almost as if in the old days you were a guest in a studio watching a radio program being recreated.
That's what you see.
Yeah. We even dress the part. Guys dress up, gals.
Now, do you record those? Or?
No,
No?
we do them live. We keep the scripts.
Record it might be collector's items one day. You never know. Where were we before, gang? Where were we?
Talking about the Fire Museum.
Yeah.
And I would like to invite everybody the third Saturday of every month. You'd have to check. We have an open house from 10 until 2. You're welcome to bring the kids, bring a camera, and you will see the history of the Chicago Fire Department.
Now you have a new Model T fire.
We have a 1913 Ford Model T engine. It was a chemical rig that we just got back, and thank you to the insurance company that gave it to us. And we put it together, and it's really a neat thing.
Is it on display now?
We have it on display now next to our old Squad 10 and our pumper, and you'll see we had some neat displays. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, it's just not the kids that want to get up there; all the adults want to.
Everybody's
get
a
up
kid when you
there.
come up.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's always good to have that feeling too. You still, we're going to bring the grandsons around when the weather breaks a little.
Good.
Maybe April, May, something like that.
Yeah, no, that'll be fine.
How much is admission?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Just want to make
But
sure.
there's a bucket there, so be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice to
Contribute. Yeah.
Bill, why don't you give us the address, exact address? of the Fire Museum?
5218 South Western Avenue.
Right.
And it's an old firehouse, engine 123. Thank you to Alderman Ed Burke for all he's done for us, and he's a fire buff too. Mm-hmm. It's all volunteer. We're an all volunteer crew, and we have a lot of fun there too.
The museum's not even in his ward anymore.
You're right.
I am.
That's right. He's not in the ward.
That was a bad trade. Should have kept the museum and left me out of it. But it's beautiful. We did our one show from there. Was that we did our one remote show from there the day we found out that Joe Gentile had died. Remember, everybody?
Was that the day? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Very day.
Okay.
We had to keep quiet because it wasn't released yet.
Okay. All right.
It was October the 10th, 2011.
2011.
At 12.
Were you there, Rich?
No,
no.
right now.
At
Were you
12:30.
with us yet? No.
At 12:30.
Were you with us yet? Or
I
no?
don't think
No?
so. I came in about a year or two after
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Shortly
Yeah.
after.
It was October the 10th, the year 2011, at 12:30 in the afternoon. Dr. Wayne Chekowitz called and told me the bad
He
news.
told you, yeah. Well, it was expected, but I mean, when is it ever expected, right? With anyone? I know my own dad, he was terminal with lung cancer, and when my mom called me at work, it was still a shock, So when it actually happened, so. But is the reason we're all here today because old WJJG, which was like it was like not really a business, that was more like a hobby for him, wasn't it? Wouldn't you say, John?
Yes, it was. He bought the station in 1994, and his goal was to advertise his business, the Chrysler Plymouth dealer he had out in Barrington, but it was more a hobby to him than it was a business. And the station was owned like a family. Everybody there was very, very cooperative. Everybody worked together. It was just it was just a happy home. It really was.
I know I came on board as a listener in 2005 early, and Cop Talk was the show, and that was, I guess, was the busiest, but most listened to show on there, wasn't it? In 2 hours on Saturday. And Cop Talk turned out to be not just Cop Talk; it was like the meeting of the world, like the town meeting or the Cracker Barrel. People would call in. You call frequently, right, Bill?
Yep.
And
Good show.
Yeah,
Good
really. Other people had different charitable events going on. Always called there. In addition to the other, we had Bill Giaconetti was the host, the most decorated cop in Chicago history, and Vic Justino, Chicago historian, was the
Tony
co-host.
Emilio.
Yeah.
Tony Emilio was one of the what would you call it? One of the
Host,
reporter hosts on there.
Yeah. I don't remember. It was before me.
Yeah.
And
Tony, good guy.
I think Vic Rini was also involved, wasn't he?
Vic Rini was on there. Yes. Yes.
But anyway, that was. I was just sorry I didn't know about it sooner.
Does anybody ever hear from Jack and Eddie? No?
No, John, right?
No. No, John says no.
No.
I've tried to talk to Bill several times, invited him here to this program, right after WJJG changed formats. And I went to, anyways. Dr. Chekowitz and I, we decided to have a broker party where all the brokers that did a show on WJJG would get together, and we went to Tony Spavone's out there on Lake Street in Bloomingdale, right across the street from where Joe was laid out at Sorrento's funeral home. And every time I would call Jack, I'd call Bill Giaconetti and say, "Hey, Bill, I have to check my calendar. I have to check my calendar. I have to check my calendar. I have to check my calendar." And this happened about 4 times that we had the broker party out there at Spavone's. I invited him here to this program, and I have to check my calendar. And so I tell you what, Bill, keep checking your calendar. And I like Bill. I did everything I could for Bill. I used to give up my Saturdays to work the radio station, to be up at the studios to work his program. I like Bill very, very much, and occasionally I hear from Vic Justino, but somehow or another, there is somebody that started a rumor that I wanted Bill off the air. And if I find out who that person was, he's going to be looking at the sun laying on the ground.
Jesus,
Yeah.
who started something like that? It's ridiculous.
Yes. I did everything I could. Bill had a little problem, and I went to bat for Bill to keep him on the air. And several times, it was a broker station. You had to pay to be on WJJG, and several times I took care of the greenbacks, as they would say.
I like the story that Bill said a few times about when he was a kid, and they were, I don't know how old he was. Well, he was old enough to be out, and they were playing around some shrubbery or whatever it was, and a big Irish cop came by and said, "Hey, who's that in there? Get out of there." And he says, "Oh, Jack and Eddie." So the copper says, "Come on, get out here. I want to see you." So Bill walks out there and he says, "Well, where's the other guy?" He says, "What other guy?" "Well, who are you? You Jack?" "Yeah, well, where's Eddie?" and he says, I've never forgot that.
That's a true story.
Yeah, yes.
That's one of those.
Yeah,
That's
Jack
really
and
good.
Eddie, and I can see the cops
Sure.
saying that.
Sure.
It's a shame that we can't get him around. I guess he's still around the.
Oh yes,
town.
Just last week I drove past his house. He lives right around in the area of Nagel and Gunnison.
Oh,
Quite
okay.
close.
Yeah,
I know. I gave a call and I've no answer, and I've sent emails. So
Yeah.
Otherwise, the idea of a reunion of all the WJJG activists sounds like a good idea. Get Jeanette back,
Well, yeah.
something like
We
that
used to
here.
have. We used
All
to
those
have.
that wanna do it.
We used to have quite a crowd out at Spavone's. I mean, Jack, you were there.
Christmas party.
Yeah, Christmas party,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and we used to. I've always had get-togethers. Even here at where we are right now,
Right.
I had what I call the company a picnic. Oscar, the kid upstairs that lives with me, he did all the cooking. He made hot dogs and hamburgers and Italian sausage, and all the brokers would come here. Joe and Carol and George Bliss and Kevin Moore and Jeanette Frontier and anybody that did a show at WJJG, all the brokers. We used to come here in the summertime for right out in the backyard. We used to have a company picnic, and then we would have a get together. And then, like I said, for Joe's birthday, for his 85th birthday, we had a big doings out at Spavone's. And I mean, I was always doing something for Joe.
That was it Spavone's I met you that day.
That's right.
John treated me like a long lost relative. I've been calling in, but then he says,
Yeah.
and then when you invited me to get to be a part of this, so
And we would have kept on doing the brokers party out there, but one of the brokers did something nasty, and I says, you know something, if one pays, everybody's got to pay. And this one particular person walked out
Just took one to sport.
and also carried a doggy bag with him. And I says, you know, Dr. Wayne, this is it. It's too much work. I used to call everybody. I used to sit down here and call everybody. We're going to be at Spavone, this, that, and everything else. And then a lot of people would say, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there. One year we had, the last time we did it, I had 45 people that said, yes, we'll be there.
Well,
30 showed up. In the meantime,
still
Tony
a good crowd. Yeah.
Tony gets all this food and all the work that he goes through and I go through and all that but like I said, as far as Jack and Eddie, Jack's a great guy. I mean, I feel bad that he's refused my offers, but I rode past his house last week, so looking to see. In fact, I was coming back from paying my Comcast bill, and I rolled down his street, and I was looking out. I mean, I feel bad, but I mean, if he was to call me or talk to me, I would just like we were 10 years ago or whatever it's been.
but like
John, I just heard a good story. You're talking about somebody didn't want to pay, about being cheap. There were 3 retired guys down in Florida. They were out for a walk, and a new bar had opened up in the neighborhood, and there was a sign out in front that said, all drinks 10 cents. So they figured, well, this is some kind of gimmick, but let's go in and check it out. So they go inside. They each ordered a martini. Bartender serves them each a martini, says that'll be 30 cents. They go, wow, okay. So they give him 30 cents. So they order another drink, 3 more martinis. That'll be 30 cents. So naturally, out of curiosity, they said, are you the owner? Yeah, I'm the owner. Drinks 10 cents a piece? He said, let me tell you something. I was always a big drinker. I drank in bars. Last year I won the lottery. I won a couple $1 million. So I came down here, I bought this bar, and I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to offer drinks for 10 cents a piece. So they said, wow, that's fantastic. So they ordered another drink, another 30 cents. They look down at the end of the bar, and there's 3 guys sitting down there, and they're not drinking. And they said to the bartender, they said, what's up with those guys? And he says, oh, they're retired Chicago coppers. They're waiting for happy hour. It's half price.
I thought something like that was coming. Well, ain't it the truth, though? I mean, you're saying, not to use the vernacular, but I mean, talk about some. Don't people do something that would be embarrassing to yourself? I mean, I worked in the 21st District, which is now no longer there. It was like kind of a conglomeration of Chinatown up the coastline and into Hyde Park. The reason it even existed was they wanted to have their own station. The university didn't have to go to 48th and Wabash for the police station. Originally, OW was going to do with 20 stations. So, but anyway, Lakeside Press was over there. R. Donnelly.
R. Donnelly.
Not R.H. Donnelly with the phone company, but the phone book. Yeah, R. So anyway, as I understand it, I've only heard this, they had a cafeteria there that their police could come in and eat. Fine, wonderful, we'll do that. So it turned out guys were bringing their family there after church Sunday and stuff like that. So, people just, it's incredible. I mean, I'd be so embarrassed to even think think like that, let alone.
Well, when my dad retired from the Chicago Fire Department, he went to work for Motorola. Him and another friend of his, a retired policeman, and they went to work for Motorola. My dad, at that time, they were building the place in Schaumburg, and my dad was that was right in his alley. So he helped them build it and looked after things and was in charge of security, the uniform security for all of Motorola. And later on, my dad passed away, and at his wake, a couple of people from Motorola came in, and they were some of the other people, and one of the two of the women that came in worked in the cafeteria at Motorola. And boy, they came up to me and said, "Boy, we just can't get over your dad." And they gave me, all of the salutations from my dad. And that the one gal said, "We just can't think of not having Ollie come in there and fill up his pockets with donuts and he says he certainly didn't pay for anything." Oh yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the storms and the.
Okay, the great storms of Chicago. Okay, we referenced the Ice Age, and as it was definitely before all of our time, was how many million years ago, or hundreds of thousands of years anyway. This area was actually buried how high in ice from the Great Ice Age was cold, and that was what carved out the Great Lakes here. And
I remember it well.
yeah, I've read about it.
The woolly mammoth attacks.
Yeah,
Right. It's all coming back to me now.
but Neanderthal men didn't live here; they lived
That's
in.
right. That's how I got my first wife,
Yeah.
with a club.
Starting fires with two sticks.
No,
Right.
Anthropologists believe that the female of the species created the family unit. At one time, our humans had a sort of a mating season, and the female started making herself available year-round to the boys would
They call that the honeymoon night.
stick close to the campfire and bring her some meat or whatever food now and then. So, and then came along the institution of marriage, and all that ended. Anyway, that's supposed to be a joke, by the way.
You know something, Tom? I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
We all have to bear our cross.
That was John Ryan, Jack Red Ryan.
oh yeah, I'll admit I'm on to that one.
Send your
My wife
cards
never
and
listens
letters.
anyway.
I'm still trying to figure it out myself, folks.
Yeah.
So
But no, there's a joke
don't
like
ask,
that. Like
don't
how
ask
do you
me.
how do you stop whatever? Never mind. I'm not going to go beyond that. That will get us thrown off the air. I cursed before.
I remember those snowstorms. I remember when I was, maybe 5 years old, which would be 1940 or so. In fact, I think I still have some pictures of it where the snow was over my head, and then of course we had the what we're calling the Jane Burns snows, and that was that was something. We had talked about that, but also we're talking about the Martin Luther King. Today's his birthday, and I can remember after his assassination, the riots that came about.
Oh, sure.
And we were all, I happened to be actually working that day and having to call in all the off-duty shifts to come on in and work. And I was right there. I think we were the second company on Madison Street when the riots started. And we spent, 4 or 5 days until things calmed down. And that was quite a thing. I mean, here they assassinated Dr. King, and yet, and I will say this not sarcastically, but his people were burning down their own homes, their own businesses,
their own community.
their own community, exactly. And it just went on and on and on and on, and the first time in the history of the city where the mayor said, "Shoot to kill."
You know, I'm going to tell you, gentlemen, a little story about what Bill's saying. I was very, very dear friends with a battalion chief up on the northwest side of Chicago, up at Battalion 27 at that time. His name was John Vern Doherty. And Chief Doherty, I always, whenever he would be on duty, I'd be always up at the firehouse. And he was promoted to division marshal. And the station that he went to was over there on Wilcox.
Wilcox and Crawford.
That's right. So he told me that he did not want me to come into that firehouse because of the area. He says it's too dangerous. He said, I'd much rather you call me and we'll talk over the phone rather to come here and get shot at or whatever. So this particular day, I had him on my mind, and I called him, and we're talking back and forth on the phone, and all of a sudden, the bell rings, and he says, "Well, John," he says, "I got to run. I got to go." And I had my radio on, and all of a sudden, he went to the riots on Madison Street, and within about 2 or 3 minutes after they reported on the scene. Well, that was the Division 4, wasn't it, Bill? What division? What? Second, okay. So and I heard his voice coming over the radio. You know, we're on the scene on Madison Street, and it's still in box. About 2-3 minutes later, they're screaming on the radio to get an ambulance. The division marshal had a heart attack and dropped dead. He got himself so excited and so upset about what was going on there that he got a heart attack and he died right there. And I was the last one that he talked to.
Vern was a very good boss. Very nice man.
Yes.
And, yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
Never went by John. It was always Vern.
Vern, yes, right. And every time you talk about this date, it brings to my mind this our relationship, and he was really a great person.
People don't realize today, when you go in that area, why are all of these parking lots here?
Yeah,
these empty lots.
Right.
You know,
that's right.
And it wasn't only down there. I mean, it spread all over.
Well, it was around Madison and Oakley, wasn't it, Bill?
Yeah.
Western Avenue and all up and through that area there.
The south side never got going like the west side did.
No,
they tried to get it going, but due to a lot of good work by a lot of our people over there, broke it up.
Yeah.
And I remember the order coming over. Mayor Daley had the National Guard come in.
Yeah.
Right? They had a National Guard come in, and I heard that he said that these people want to be misbehaving. Let's eliminate them.
Well, my only argument with there was when he came out with his pronouncement, everything was over by then, if I remember correctly. He said that looters should be shot to wound them, to wing them, and arsonists should be shot to kill. Well, you don't shoot to wing anybody. If you're using deadly force, you better be, bona fide case where it's justified. What if you don't wing them? What if it winds up killing them? That's what happens. But and then the other, they were talking about like someone was trying to blame his shoot to kill order on causing the riot at the Democratic National Convention. So,
talking about trying to use logic or common sense with the rioters. One of my stories, one of the riots that I was in, we were escorting ambulances, and we were taking someone over to West Suburban. And as we were approaching this intersection, there were some bars there. I forget the exact location, but we saw they were ready for us. They had bricks and concrete and bottles, so, and there was no escape. You just had to run the gauntlet. So we're driving by. Somebody threw a huge chunk of concrete, aimed at my head. Fortunately, missed it, hit the back of the squad, caved it in, broke the glass. So anyway, to make a short story out of this, I tell the story to people that maybe aren't from Chicago or aren't familiar with riots, and so they said several times, well, gee, Tom, what were they rioting about? And I said, well, this particular riot was when the Bulls won the NBA championship. So they said, no, they were rioting because the Bulls lost? No, they were rioting because the Bulls won the national championship and attacking police. So much for using logic or common sense to try to figure out what occurs in those situations.
When something like that happens, it's just an excuse. an absolute
Right.
excuse to go out and be
Plunder, loot,
animalistic,
yeah.
you know, and plunder the city. You know, it was unbelievable. You know, when we pulled out, that was the only time I had my son with me for the day at the firehouse.
Oh.
And then when it started, I had one of the guys throw Johnny in the car. I said, "Get him the hell out of here." You know, he just knew what was happening, and then we go over on Madison and or on Western Avenue there, and you could just see him go in, bust the windows, loot the place, and then burn it. I mean, you know, there was just nothing. Of course, in those days we didn't have, you know, these telephones and cameras and stuff like that. Who the heck was going to?
Our radios were all in the car at the time. The police
yeah,
department.
that's right too.
With the portables.
Yeah. And it
Maybe
was,
that the only rationale for a lot of blacks attacking and looting along Madison Avenue was that those stores were not owned by blacks. No excuse, but they were then going to loot them and burn them.
That didn't matter anyway.
But
They
then you
didn't
forget
matter.
that the fires, when they burn a store, it's going to burn the nearby neighborhood.
They weren't burning
Fires have a
because of-
chance to spread.
They weren't burning because of Martin Luther King. They
No.
were
Oh,
no,
just,
no,
it was
yeah.
just an excuse to,
Well,
you know.
Yeah,
act
it
that
was
We
way.
an
found,
excuse,
and then
sure.
I was, you know, a rookie. We found the people we were arresting were always ones we were all arresting anyway. So, and on that happy note, what? On that note,
We'll be right back after these messages of interest and importance. Thank you.
Do you need a carpet for your living room? Do you need a carpet for your dining room or bedroom, den or family room, or even outdoor patio? Well, the place to go for a great deal is the Carpet Warehouse, located at 4300 West Montrose Avenue in Chicago, or call Carpet Warehouse at area code 773-283-0100. So remember, friends, for a great deal on any carpeting you might need, your living room, dining room, bedroom, den, family room, or even your outdoor patio, go to Carpet Warehouse, which is located at 4300 West Montrose Avenue in Chicago, and you can call area code 773-283-0100. They are just east of Cicero Avenue, or the Kennedy Expressway, on the north side of the street on Montrose Avenue. Carpet Warehouse, 4300 West Montrose Avenue, or you can call area code 773-283-0100. So, for a great deal on any carpeting you may need, go to Carpet Warehouse, 4300 West Montrose Avenue in Chicago, or give them a call at area code 773-283-0100.
Now, back to our discussion. I was about to mention before our break that we talk about, of course, the riots that happened after Martin Luther King's death in 1968, but I think looking at his career, you could argue that after his great successes in the South, moving against segregation and getting voting rights established, that in the middle 60s, after the Watts riot, let's say, when he decided to try to improve conditions here in Chicago, he met, if not a defeat, at least a stalemate. He was pretty much outmaneuvered by Mayor Daley. His marches through Marquette Park and Cicero did not lead to anything. As a matter of fact, they might have set back race relations a few years.
Right. He did. He made the statement after the Marquette Park march that in all his experience throughout the South, he never saw hatred like he saw on the south side of Chicago, because it brought all the crazies out. You know, the most of the people, the anti-marchers, they weren't even from Chicago. They were Klan
Miles
members.
away.
The head of the American Nazi Party, George Lincoln Rockwell, he had his headquarters on 71st Street that was just east of the park.
Yeah.
So that brought all those nutcases out of the weeds. It was not a smart move, and on his part, really.
And that put the police right in the middle of these
Right.
two hate-filled
Right.
groups.
Right.
Well, and
exactly.
you know what? It's not only the blacks. You know, look at Humboldt Park. You know, in that area with the Spanish.
The Puerto Rican riots. That was
Yeah.
another one of the riots. I said, well, one good thing came out of the Humboldt Park riots. They said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, white police officers and black police officers can be united on hating someone in common."
Oh, it's.
Now, some of us had to go a little vague on those Puerto Rican riots. Were they about the same time in the mid to late 60s? Or what was
Little-
the...
And it was
Or a little- well,
during
no.
the time when it was their national day or their holiday
Or the
or
festivals or
and
something.
we just, you know, I was stationed at Grand and Walcott, and that was ours over there, and we just knew, what Puerto Rican Parade Day was coming, or we knew that there was going to be problems. There was no doubt about it.
What you were saying before, Tom, we've had the discussion before. We moved, not then I didn't live there, but later on, lived like 2 blocks from Marquette Park. As kids, when we were in Cub Scouts, we had what they called a powwow in May or whatever it was, and the Boy Scouts they'd camp overnight there, and we had black troops. We had a lot of black kids there, no problem. Anyone would come and use the 9-hole golf course there, no problem. They did. I don't say a lot of people, but they did. There was no. But all of a sudden, if you're advertising that you're marching, you're advertising you're going to be, you're going to attract the cameras and attract the people, as you said, the fanatics or the
Nazis.
nutcases. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know one guy I ran into later on, he bragged about he was on the front page of the Chicago American or something, holding some of the American Nazi Party flag, and he was from Berwyn, so it wasn't even from around there.
Of course, I think the suburb that was most synonymous with racial hatred and bigotry in those years was Cicero.
Gee, too bad John isn't
And
here.
so, of course, then you decide to lead a march of blacks through Cicero,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
not a good idea.
Most segregated.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
But the thing is, what I found interesting, and still find interesting, is people that I encounter that have the most hate towards blacks or Hispanics never had anything to do with them, never were around them, never
Yeah.
dealt with, because you can't. Again, getting back to, and I keep on talking about the generally accepted premise that white cops are racist and hate blacks. You couldn't work in a black community and have that feeling, because you're there to help people, and you do help people. As these the race baiters are speaking, as they're speaking around the country, thousands and thousands of encounters are going on between white police officers and black citizens, very, very successfully. So, just to generally accept this white cop racism and hatred, and it's nonsense.
that's the imagery you get on the screen there.
Right.
I can relate. I was assigned, as Tom was, to 48th Street, 4802 South Wabash, and there almost 2 years, and there came a time when the traffic, largely because there was a lot of manpower, I believe, the traffic division was going to have some extra men went in. I know you went in, and I went in shortly thereafter. I went to the Loop Corner, and they gave me Clark and Adams, which a different guy used to take it every day. It was construction for the Kluzinski building, they call it now, the one federal building. So all this infrastructure was being done. And so I said to the sergeant, just leave me here. I'd rather be at the one spot anyway. So elderly, of course, when you're in your 20s, everybody looks elderly. But this man was up in years. He was always very well dressed in a suit. Elderly black man used to come by and talk to me good morning. One day he says to me, I used to have a Watchman Road along 47th Street there. I said, really? You know what I'm talking about, John, where I met you years ago.
Yep, right.
Anyway, I said, I know. I know a guy named Covington. He took the route over from him originally, because this Covington who had the route, who I met at that fire that day, about 2 or 3 months later, he's investigating a place he walks in to inspect, to shine the light in the window of one of the shops, and they had a gun. They shot and killed him. So I do remember that incident. So, oh, he knew all the. He started mentioning names of the old timers in 48th Street, and so he said, "Come on, let's have a cup of coffee real quick." I wanted to buy him a cup of coffee. So he went in one of the places, not where my future wife worked, but another little coffee spot there. And the lady, this was like you order and you sit down. This wasn't a waiter. She looks like, past him to me. What do I want? And I says, his name was Halsey, like Admiral Halsey. I remember this very well. Mr. Halsey. And she let this sour look on her face for no reason. So I can understand why some people would get attitudes. Of course, at his age, he could spot it right away. I'm sure he's seen it before.
No, I mean, I agree 100%. But the problem is it's on both sides. To discuss racism and only direct it to white racism and totally ignore black racists is to really limit the discussion and not solve anything, because anyone that doesn't believe that there are black racists obviously haven't been around a lot of black people, and vice versa.
Right.
Wonder what will happen, and the day might probably come when a video cam will capture a black officer shooting a white so-called criminal in flight, something like that. You know, you have the reverse.
This happened?
Yeah, they have incidents like that, but they're not well reported.
So that's the problem.
Yeah,
right
because
there.
it doesn't fit the agenda.
Yeah, that's the problem.
You know, gentlemen, there's something that I always wondered about. We mentioned it just a little bit ago, Tom, when you said that the Bulls, one year that they won the championship, and these people were out there burning, destructing cars and doing all this. What was the purpose of them doing this when their team won?
I don't know.
What was, I mean...
John, that's probably an answer that
doesn't exist.
That you'll never hear. You know, there just is no answer.
I mean,
for that.
on the 4th of July, we celebrate Independence Day, and we do fireworks and parades and all that stuff because we're celebrating stuff. But what, and it's their own people that's doing. I mean, you know what the majority of the Bulls players are, and it's their people that are out there doing all this destruction.
Exactly.
What is their purpose of it?
To the own community they live in. So they wonder why a storekeeper doesn't want to be around there anymore. Shopkeeper, cleaners, whatever, whatever the business is.
Look at all the college campuses where you have teams victory, and the young kids use this excuse to get out and do some damage.
Where was it? Was that in Missouri or someplace where they had the riots? One of those states, and they were burning down restaurants and meat stores, butcher shops, and grocery stores.
What was it? That was just not too long ago.
Yeah.
Where was that?
I mean, they're burning they're destroying their own. I mean, where the heck are you going to go buy a gallon of milk if you burn your store down?
You're talking about Ferguson? Or
No, but that was in Ferguson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what did our Attorney General tell them, Tom? Stay your course.
And again, like I said, there wasn't one single thing true about the original incident. And that's what was so sad about it. And again, that would have been a great opportunity for our president to make a statement to try to ease racial tension, and he did the direct opposite. I mean, how can you make a statement saying, well, looting and rioting is wrong, but I can understand their frustration. Are you kidding me?
He did say something like that.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
You don't
He
qualify
said that.
it.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And then to go down there and say, well, I understand because I was discriminated against too.
Oh, really?
I think the president made his big discrimination incident was when someone walked out of a restaurant that he was standing in front of and thought that he was the car hiker. Oh my God! How did you possibly survive?
What you just said is what is the connection between myself and a guy who came on the job was Steve Yacco, two young 21-year-old white kids with less than a year in the job, were working and were coming down the elevator in Robert Taylor, whatever it was, 5041 Federal, one of those buildings, 16 stories. The kids, this is in April, right? Kids are starting to say, Dr. King's been killed. Dr. King, I said, boys, don't be disrespectful. Well, it was true. So, naturally there's a lot of tension. You can see the tension was. But what has the murder, the assassination of a leader, by the way, it wasn't everybody's later at the time. I mean, there was a serious. A lot of people were like dissatisfied that the one sort of the movement wasn't going fast enough, and there was some conference that they didn't invite Dr. King to right around that, just before that time. Of course, then the assassination went down. But what has that got to do with going out and stealing a color television set or whatever? Is there any connection at all?
No, like I said, you cannot possibly use logic or common sense to try to understand it. It just you go crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
The trouble
Smash
is,
and grab. That's their motto.
the trouble is, the
my
news
chance to
media
get away
seems
with
to want to legitimize the complaints and and their frustration. You said the word frustration.
I mean, my thing is, to me, if I was a rioter and I was that angry and my anger was due to racial issues, I'd do whatever I could to get myself up into Winnetka or Kenilworth or somewhere and smash the hell out of that suburb and then go back home. What are you burning your own neighborhood down for?
But that's too logical.
If you hate white people that bad, go where the white people are.
That's too
It's,
logical.
all it is an excuse to be animalistic and
No, please. Animals don't behave that badly now.
Yeah,
They
you're
got more
right.
sense.
Yeah,
These
right.
writers.
Daisy here would never do that.
That's right. That's one of my favorite lines when someone calls politicians whores. I say, don't say that in front of me, because that's an insult to every whore I've ever met in my life.
Anyway, how do we get to that?
Maybe drifting back a little bit to Chicago weather and blizzards, I think a lot of us tend to forget that about 4 years ago, we had the, what's the name of that storm we had, the blizzard, Groundhog Day, early February. And that turned out to be the third heaviest snowstorm in Chicago's history.
Last year you're talking about?
No, about 4 years ago.
Because last year in February
2011.
we had a big one.
Big one. Yeah.
Missed last year's.
Well, 2 years ago in Chicago.
Last year we had one that knocked the number 10 out of their spot.
Did he see his shadow that day? I forgot.
I missed that.
He couldn't get out of the hole, probably.
Talk about anticlimax. Yeah, but-
Anyway, going back, that'll be 2 winters ago now, there was a day when we were colder here than it was at the South Pole. So, of course, in all fairness, it was summer down there.
You know,
Anyway.
you just mentioned about Groundhog's Day, and I heard on the radio yesterday, day before, that the groundhog that up in the
Punxsutawney Phil or what is it?
whatever it is up there, bit the mayor. He was handling it,
remember that.
and it bit him. And evidently they got it. Now they have no groundhog, so that groundhog signed his own death certificate when he bit that mare, and now they're looking for a groundhog that they can kind of tame before that.
Here's
I don't
the,
think that's right.
Here's the official list of the top 10 snowfalls. Number 1, 23 inches, January 26, 27. That was the 67. 21.6, January 1st to 3rd, 1999. 21.2, February 1st to 2nd in 2011.
Right.
20.3 inches, January 13th to 14th, 1979. And then this is the one I was talking about last year that knocked the last 19.3 inches, February 1st and 2nd, 2015. 19.2 inches, March 25th, 26th, 1930. Bill, you remember shoveling, you made a lot of spare change shoveling in that snowstorm, didn't you?
In that
1930. And then the following year, 16.2 inches, March 7th and 8th, 1931. 15 inches, December 17th, 20th, 1929. 14.9 inches, January 30th, 1939. And the last 14.9 inches, January 6th to 7th, 1918.
That 39 is probably
Tom,
the
can
one
you-
I was
can you-
talking about.
Can you go back to 2011? What was the date
Yeah,
on that?
2011 was February 1st and 2nd,
And-
21.2 inches.
The third
Okay.
heaviest.
Yeah, that was number 3.
Yeah, okay. I was upstairs and I had woke up 2:30 in the morning, looked out the window, and I saw how bad it was snowing out here. So I thought to myself, oh my God. So I had woken up the kid that lives with me, Oscar. I says, Oscar, I need your help right away. He says, what's the matter?
Get the shovel.
I says, get the shovel. I says, and get me out. I got in my truck. I went down the street, went over to Irving Park Road, took Irving to Manheim to St. Charles Road. At 3:30 in the morning, I was at the radio station, WJJG, and the only place I couldn't get into the lot of the studios, but across the street there was a gas station, and the guy had just got done shoveling or plowing out the lot over there. So I parked in a parking lot in the gas station, walked across St. Charles Road. The snow was up to my kneecaps. So help me God, that God can hurt me if I'm lying. And I got 1 minute across the street, went up the front steps, and at 6:30 in the morning, I had WJJG on the air. Wow. And it was so bad over there that everybody was just snowed in. And at nighttime, it was it was bad driving. I slept in on the floor in the studios, and I stayed there overnight because that's how bad the snow was.
I can remember the kids up on the roofs out in Rolling Meadows, Arlington Heights. The roofs, the kids were making a good buck, getting up there and shoveling them off, and
then in 1960,
and we had a lot of roof damage in the city.
And what was the other one? 1964? Did you say, Tom?
67 was the big one.
Or 67? Yeah. Okay.
Now I got a story about that.
All right. Now let me tell you about that. I had been employed by Illinois Bell Telephone Company at that time. And our garage was over at 4639 Ronald Street, was just a block east of Harlem Avenue and a block west of Lawrence or Gunnison, up over in that area. And they told us, I got to work, I got to the garage, and they told us that, we got to be out on the street. We got all kinds of emergency work and all kinds of, people without phone service, this, that, and everything else. So I called the dispatcher, gives me a job. From Ronald Street there, I had to go out to Touhy and Caldwell Avenue, which is Niles there, and I had to change the phone cord because the cord between the handset and the telephone was bad, and I had to go out there and change that.
Yikes.
And that was the big emergency job that we did.
Who was the person?
I don't know who the person was.
Head
but
of Illinois Bell.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
I
Local
barely remember
politician.
the impact of the 1999 storm, whether that was because it was a weekend or something. That just didn't seem to register in my mind at all. It's 16 years ago now, 17.
No. Anyway, for the big snow in 67,
Yeah.
I was scheduled to be that following Saturday was to take the test at Wells High School, which like North Avenue and Ashland, about? Augusta? Okay, right around there.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to get there. My dad says, don't worry, the city's buried. You won't be given the test. Sure enough, got a car that was postponed. I wonder how many people showed up.
Well, what I remember about the 67 snowfall is the day before, we were playing basketball inside at Marquette Park.
Shirt sleeves.
No, inside at Marquette Park.
Inside. Oh.
And I remember distinctly saying the temperature was like in the upper 40s.
That's right.
And I said, you know what? I said, why come over here? Because I was still living over around 63rd and Hermitage. I said, let's play outside. We'll go over to Earl tomorrow. And they said, yeah. Well, we played outside the next day. It started to snow, and it didn't stop.
Mm-hmm. I was working at Central Steel then, and we actually they had a regular street sweeper they cleaned inside with. I hosed it down and washed it outside that day, I remember, so. It was mild, might have been warmer than that even.
I went to the store. We were living in Rolling Meadows, and I went to the store and just, I wasn't used to buying stuff and that. And oh my God, I think it was like $120, and there was all kinds of stuff, that I bought. And when I got home, my wife just hit the ceiling. We can't afford that. Why did you do it? Why did you get this for it? Well, after she calmed down, the next day I went to work, the firehouse, and that's when the snow hit.
Yeah.
And she said, she called me. We didn't have hand phones at that time and all that, but she called me at the firehouse and she says, Bill, I apologize. She says, thank God you did that, because I was there. You couldn't get out of there for 5 days. Mm-hmm. And we were pretty well stocked.
I knew a guy who was, at the time, this is like in the 70s, I'm sure it's probably improved now, but he was in charge of snow command for the city. He was a streets and sand guy. And he said at the time, the city of Chicago can handle an 8-inch snowfall. I mean, it's solid, straight 8-inch snowfall, no problem. They can clear it. He said anything over that, when it gets to be like 10 inches, and I'm talking about just straight, solid snowfall, he said, we've got a problem. And I always remembered that because that was pretty much true, because anytime you got more than 12 inches, it was like last year in February, and we got, what was it, 19 or whatever it was inches. Basically, it's just the city shuts down.
Yeah.
You know.
And nobody blamed the mayor then. Mayor Daley never caught any flack for not getting better ready for the
Well, I think
67
when-
storm, as opposed to the
Well,
landings.
what helped was the snow route signs. You know, that was one of the biggest things in the the 77 storm or whatever, when they brought in snow equipment from Buffalo, New York, and the guys there said, you can't clear snow when there's cars parked there. This is impossible. So that's when they came out with the snow route.
Yeah.
So now that there's snow routes,
That helps. Yeah.
the main arteries they can clear pretty well. The side streets, though, it's like people that aren't from Chicago and move here, and they say, well, when are they going to plow the side streets? Middle of June they usually come around.
I like it when the chairs and the tables are out.
Dibs.
Getting, I got dibs on that spot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
We had one of our expatriates on the job. Didn't live in the city, you know. He thought nobody knew. He says he had a place here where he had his cubby hole, and he says, nobody ever plows our street over there. I says, nobody ever plows the side streets here, period, unless it's around a hospital, a church, a school, or maybe a politician's, but there was nothing new. So I told him what he had to do. You go home at night, park your car as close to the busy street as you can, so you can get out in the morning. Oh, gee.
Well, that was last year when they showed Eddie Burke's street.
Yeah.
Right.
It looked like 19 inches of snow. His street looked like Miami Beach.
It was. Wasn't that some kind of a commercial route or something he had to put or something like that? Or
They made up some
Yeah.
excuse. And you know what? I like that when I got out of the Army, that's when I bought out in Rolling Meadows, because that's where my wife was from. So I bought out there, and they had these a V plow, and it was on I don't know, some kind of a little rig, and they even plowed the sidewalks.
Yeah.
I mean, bingo! They were out there, and I thought, oh man, is this great? Wouldn't that be great in the city?
I remember, John, I don't know if you remember this, John and I had some land up in Wisconsin, around Stevens Point.
Dead center, Wisconsin.
And we were building a house on it, which we eventually sort of completed. But anyway, we were staying in town, Stevens Point, and I don't know if you remember this, they forecast 16 inches of snow during the night, and we were staying at a Holiday Inn, and we said, well, we're not going to be able to get back to Chicago tomorrow. We got to plan on staying here or whatever. And when we woke up in the morning, it looked like it hadn't even snowed because they had the equipment. I mean, the sidewalks were cleared. So we said, look at this.
I remember when the Byrne administration first started, they had these little miniature plows in the sidewalks downtown, little like miniature jobs. It was just started to snow. Everybody's out there. They were taking no chances at all that time with that. So
What a difference that was, or what an oddity, because of the snow and what Bolandic didn't do, and Jane got
he got
that.
he got a lot of bum information.
Yeah.
Some of the guys at Streets and Sand, they said, take your cars to the if you live near a school, all the school lots are plowed. Take your cars to the. Then they tried doing the alternate. If you live on an east-west street, park on the west side. If you live on the north. And it just didn't materialize.
And they kept. I was in the district at the time. They kept announcing every 15 minutes to keep ticketing the cars. If you're ticketing cars on the street, that's one thing, but that doesn't alleviate the problem that they're there. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they stopped.
You know what? Thank the good Lord, and the guy that invented four-wheel drive. I'll never have a car again without it.
Or front-wheel drive.
Yeah,
that makes a huge difference.
And a part of what Bolandic's problem was, Belanica was basically a good guy, an innocent type guy. He thought he'd get up and smile and joke like Richard J. did and get by with it, but it didn't work because everybody was belly button deep in snow. It didn't work out. So, and being belly button deep in snow is very uncomfortable, but it also brings us to a break, I think, doesn't it? Break.
You've been listening to Meet the Chicago Historians. We'll be right back.
You guys think I've interrupted?
Hey friends, do you need an awning over your front, side, or rear door? Or your windows? How about a canopy for your carport? Or a patio cover over your patio so you can enjoy being outside in case of rain in the warm weather? All you have to do is call Awnings and More, and Raphael Bogus will drive over, measure up whatever you need, and go from there. You can call Awnings and More at 773-710-8403 or 847-890-1447. So if you need an awning for your windows or doors, call Raphael Bogus at Awnings and More at 773-710-8403 or 847-890-1447. Raphael also installs hand railings for your front, side, or back steps. You must be safe when you go up and down the steps, especially in bad weather. So for awnings or handrails, call Raphael Bogus at 773-710-8403 or 847-890-1447. Call today for a free estimate.
Now back to our show. Jack?
Yeah, okay, let's get back to our final we're around the far bend and coming up to the finish line. Who wants to start here? What are we talking about?
You know, an interesting thing that I found, and I think almost anyone that lived in the city of Chicago will agree with me, in disasters like, and you know, Bill has been on the scene of enough disasters, meaning major fire incidents. The citizens in the city, what comes to mind is in a major snowfall, people that you haven't seen maybe ever that live on your block are out in the street with shovels, shoveling, working together to get everything done. And Bill, you've seen this at the scene of major conflagrations where people come out and they're helping the people that are homeless because of a major fire. It really, you know, it kind of renews your faith in human nature when you see things like this.
The neighborhood generations ago have always done that, and that's what brings out the good people. You know, there's some people that don't care, but as a general rule, yep, they come out and help. Get a little fire in a bungalow, and they're boom. People are right there. We don't wait for the Red Cross or you know, people would really have to be hated to not get help from their neighbors.
Right, and you get the people that are bringing coffee out or maybe even some adult beverages when it's on really cold days, and
yep,
you know, you help yourself. So you know, while we've been maybe making some pretty negative comments about things that go on in the city, when a situation like that happens, it, like I said, it kind of renews your faith in human nature.
And the fellow man.
Right.
Yeah. It's and we have, you know, it's a big city. We we have a lot of these things happening here, and you can't mess with Mother Nature. I feel terribly sorry for these people with these mudslides in California and wherever. The tornadoes,
any natural
and the
disaster,
rains down in
And the floods.
in Texas, flooding the streets. I mean, we've never had that here.
No.
Where it just would wipe out a whole neighborhood.
Or a major
No.
earthquake, which you.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, or what happened down in New Orleans with the
Yeah.
levees
Katrina.
bursting during Katrina.
Katrina, yeah.
Yeah, that was total devastation.
No, we've been pretty lucky here. People talk about moving wherever
You
to
know,
get
and,
out of the city.
and again, in the last Republican debate, in the exchange between Cruz and Trump kind of trumped, excuse the pun, Cruz when Cruz made a negative comment about the New York attitude.
Right.
And Trump came
right.
back, and it was true, and he was talking about, and I know Bill knows, firefighters from the Chicago area and police officers from the Chicago area, and not only Chicago, but again, to addressing my point about in disasters like that, people coming together, traveled all the way to New York to help bolster the first responders
On their
police
own.
on their own dime.
Yep.
So again, I guess that's the true American spirit coming to the forefront. You hope to solve problems. You kind of hope that you would see some type of overwhelming response to what's happening in some of the communities with the shootings. It's just we always said that, when I was still on the job and working in the district, you kind of look forward to the cold weather because the shootings and the especially the outdoor crime incidents dropped dramatically because people just kind of stayed in and kind of hibernated. But that doesn't seem like the case this year. The shootings are up dramatically.
Yes, they are.
I mean, you kind of wish that the community would rise up. It's sad. And again, like I said earlier, if you think that the main problem in the black community is white police officers, you are sadly mistaken. Is it some type of a problem? Is it something that maybe should be addressed? Yeah, sure it is.
Sure.
But it's not the major problem. And until the major problems are fixed, I just can't imagine. You're living in an area where you're afraid to walk out your front door because you might get shot. You're sitting in your home and you have to pull the drapes down, or
Hide in your home.
yeah, right. Or young kids know in certain areas don't sit in front of the windows because you might get shot.
Bullets have gone through walls at times. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how sad is that?
Yeah.
Very sad.
You're a prisoner.
Very sad. Exactly. You're a prisoner in your own home. No, and that's happening more and more. I just saw, I believe it was in the paper this morning, about on the Kennedy somewhere. On the Kennedy, some guy got
near
shot.
Addison.
Yeah, shooting.
Yeah.
Drive-by
Okay.
shootings. Right?
Yeah.
Drive-by
Yeah.
shooting.
Yeah, there was one under Dan Ryan not that long ago.
Yeah, and this was that was at a off-duty copper, and he called it in, and they got the guy, and he identified the gun. It was a .357. They're not talking about
Right.
20.
That's why
And gentlemen, not only is it bad in Chicago, but Milwaukee, Wisconsin isn't any better.
Milwaukee is one of the highest. Strangely enough, Chicago isn't even in the top 10. Milwaukee is right up there.
I like that
per capita.
that sheriff of Milwaukee County.
Clark.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
And the police commissioner of Milwaukee Police Department, he takes no baloney from anybody.
Yeah.
There was a shooting up there, and all of a sudden the natives, if I could put it that way, there was a park where this young man got shot, and they wanted to change the name of the park. It was the Veterans Park, and they wanted to change it to the memory of this individual that got shot, and the people up there just went berserk. They said that's a Veterans Park, and nobody is going to touch the name of that
Right.
park
Yeah,
up there.
that wasn't a smart move.
And
I
then
heard this
also,
morning that some schools in the South were changing the names
yeah,
of the schools.
Yeah.
Because the names happen to be people, generals, or whoever it was, that were on the side of the Rebs in the Civil
the
War.
Confederates.
going back to Milwaukee again, there was on the news, and there was a grandpa. He was a black gentleman, very nicely. I mean, he was a real gentleman. He was sitting in his front room with his little granddaughter on his lap, and he was reading a book, a story, a children's book, and somebody went down the street, shot through the building, and killed the little girl, and the little girl died in his arms while he was reading a book to her.
Yeah.
I mean, how terrible.
Sick.
Yes.
Absolutely sick.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for years you've been hearing about, let's say, young kids, again, the whole problem of parental supervision would get on an overpass and maybe start dropping rocks and bricks on cars sailing by underneath.
And that was happening right here in Chicago. Finally, some
That's
of
why
the
they
areas,
They put the fences up.
fences up.
around. Yeah. And who pays for that? The taxpayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of taking that money and feeding the homeless or helping the homeless or something, they're spending money to protect people going on the expressways.
You know, and in this cold weather now, bitterly cold weather, there was an article in the Channel 7 or whatever it was last night about on Lawrence Avenue over east that they are supplying these homeless people living under the viaducts with tents now. I don't know. I mean, thank God, bingo. There for the grace of God go I. But whether that helps, I suppose, to keep the wind off of them. But I know a guy on Montrose and Knox that doesn't have that. But people must have gone by and just thrown blankets at him. He must have 20 blankets over him and under him. And what do you do about these people?
Well,
Nobody's going to take him into their home. This doesn't seem to be a bad guy. I don't think he's an alkie, but
What they found is a tremendous amount of homeless people are severely mentally ill, and a lot of them they've taken to shelters. They walk in the front door and they walk out the back door.
yeah.
That's the sad part about it.
They might feel that everything of theirs is going to be taken away or confiscated.
Right. I mean,
But
you
that's-
see them. They've got the 2 shopping carts or 3 shopping carts, a whole bunch of bags.
Right.
They've got a severe mental problem. So
I don't know what this guy's got. I was stopping and getting coffee. When I have breakfast, I'd, tell the girl, give me a large coffee to go, and I'd drop it off. Well, then after a while, I never got out of the car. Somebody was always there, or I'd blow the horn, and he'd come over, and I'd give him the coffee. Well, I had to walk over to where he is there, and then I see all of the urine just rolling down. I thought, well, he doesn't need any more coffee. So I started giving him soup, making soup in that. So I mean, it's got to be just awfully filthy.
Well, the story that I tell about, homeless people being mentally ill, I was downtown, I was in a Dunkin' Donuts waiting for court, and there was a homeless person that came into the Dunkin' Donuts, and naturally he goes around to everyone and, hey, give me some money, and the usual routine. Well, all the Chicagoans in there are, no thanks or ignoring him. He goes around. So there was a guy, he looked like maybe he was in his 40s, and he was with 2 younger guys. They looked like business types, dressed, well-dressed. This guy looked like he might be a boss or whatever. So the homeless guy gets up to their table. So this guy, the older guy at the table, with a great flourish, he says, so everyone could hear him, he said, "No, sir, I won't give you money, but I won't refuse a man that's hungry some food. So I will buy you some food. So he's looking around at everyone like we were all idiots because we didn't give this guy any money, and he's going to show us how to handle the situation.
Yeah.
So the guy goes, oh, yeah, good, yeah, okay. So he takes him up to the counter. So get this gentleman something to eat. You know, he's very pompous and very pleased with himself. So the guy says, the homeless guy says, I want six dozen donuts. I want 9 milks. I want some of those. Give me some of those. So now the guy is realizing, you know. So I looked at him and say, hey, you told him you're going to buy him something. But, well, anyway, the bill was like $39 because this guy was going to go berserk because this guy told him he was going to get something to eat. So he's taking him up on it. But, I mean, that's just an example that these people, you know, I mean, it's a very complex problem.
And we don't have here in the city anymore a Dunning or a halfway house for mental. They've stopped all of that, and that could be the answer.
Right.
You know, yeah, we got to pay for it, but you know,
Because all these
should be done.
medications
And-
supposed
and
to
it's
take
ama-
the place
and
of
it's
confining
amazing-
people, which
Yeah.
isn't true either.
And it's amazing how these people survive. There was a guy, we used to call him the bag man because he was the ultimate bag man. He lived in a bag. In weather like this, as cold as this was, he insulated himself and he would sleep on one of those concrete benches right along the river on Wacker. And he had all kinds of, plastic bags and newspaper and coats and whatever he could get, and he would have like a small breathing hole that he would stick his nose in, and below zero weather, that guy would sleep in his own little
That's the way
bag.
the guy in Montrose and Knox is now, Tom.
Yeah.
You know how you can't even see him. You know, and you think that he'd smother himself. You know, he's under there covered up. Just once in a while, you can see a little movement under all of that.
Right, and again, you know, the mental problems that they have, they're paranoid, they don't want to go inside, they're afraid of everyone. So, I don't know if they got into a medical facility and some medication would help them, whatever. But like I say, it's a very complex problem. You know, I hate to diminish the problem of homeless people, but there are very few people that are really, want to work or stable enough that are homeless in this country, because there's so many programs that are available to them. You see this and they headline it about some poor woman with 2 kids living in a car somewhere, but that is not as common as the people that are really mentally ill that are out there and wouldn't go in anywhere if you brought them in there.
Yeah, it's a problem that doesn't seem to ever stop. I can remember when I was a kid seeing people like that. Oh.
Well, gentlemen, I've mentioned several times I have a young lad that lives with me. His name is Oscar. And Oscar has never, to this very day, and he's 29 years old, never seen the whites of his father's eyes. He actually could be sitting right here in this chair, and his dad could walk in that door. He wouldn't even know who he is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Oscar's had a terrible life until I put my claws on his throat and told him he's coming with me. And here, just a week or so ago, we were sitting upstairs. In fact, it was on his birthday. Now to come think, it was December 22nd was his birthday. He was just 29 years old. And he was telling me that when he was a youngster, that he used to live in the back end of a van, like my van parked in front of the house here. And he says,
Where was the mother, John?
Pardon?
Where's the mother?
Right. Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
She abandoned him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, my business partner, Bob, and the aunts and the grandmother raised Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to tell me, he told me this night that he slept in the van, and when his friends would say, hey, Oscar, you want to come over and spend the night with us or spend the weekend? He said he would just jump to it because that was his opportunity to change clothes and to take a shower. And well, he wound up in the wrong place. He did something that was bad, and until I got my hands on him, I mean, now he's the nicest young man you'd ever want to meet on 2 feet.
great.
He's been with you here for several years now, hasn't he, John?
He's been with me at least 10, 12 years.
That's long.
Yeah.
That's a great,
And
great story.
Here recently, one day we were sitting at the kitchen table, and he looking around. He says, this house needs to be painted. And I said to him, yeah, right. I'm glad I can walk from the kitchen table to the bathroom. And I went out and got the paint. He painted the entire upstairs, his bedroom, the front room, the porch, the bathroom, and anything. And when we were doing it, then you gentlemen, well, of course Tom wasn't here, but the decorating outside, the decorating down here, the decorations upstairs was all done by him. He just loves to do that stuff. So.
Is he holding a job now, John?
No, he can't.
Okay, that's a problem.
He can't.
That's a problem.
We had we just buried him, fireman by the name of Raychek, Tommy Raychek, and he worked for me. There was an article in the paper about it, and he came from Maryville.
Mm-hmm.
He was there.
Mm-hmm.
There was a false rumor that he was left in an alley, and the police picked him up and took him into a hospital, and the policeman's name was Raychek, and so that was his name. And that was not true, but at his wake, we fixed it all up, and Father Tom, did it. And anyway, I was sitting there with Father John Smith from Maryville, and he's been there for a long time. And he was talking about the Raychecks. The family came from there, and they treated those kids like they should be, with a lot of compassion and love, and they all turned out pretty good. And he's got one hell of a place, going there. In,
The retired
Maryville.
the retired mayor from Des Plaines, Tony Aridia. He used to do a show with me at WJJG, the old time radio show, and he's very much involved with Maryville over there. In fact, he's been down here several times doing the best of old time radio shows. And when I was with WJJG, he'd come up there every Wednesday, and we would.
Father
do a show.
John's a hell of a guy. He's. I think he's in his 80s now, 80, 81, somewhere around there. But they do a great job, and I know that they have some kids that come in there that have serious mental problems, besides other different kind of problems. too.
Right.
We used to take 2 nuns from there. We used to take them home. We used to take the kids home for Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, and all of that. And we got to know these 2 nuns, and I would go over there and sneak them out. And then we were living in Rolling Meadows, and then take them home, and we'd have a meal and that. And if there was a decent movie around, I'd take them to the movie and that. And we felt good about it. You just feel good about doing stuff like that,
Well, I tell you, every morning and every evening, Oscar always says, "Thank you, John, for taking care of me. Thank you, John, for helping me. Thank you for giving me a good life."
That's great.
So he really appreciates, what I do for him.
Yeah.
It cost me a lot of money. I spend tons of money helping the kid through legal stuff,
Really?
Yeah.
But I am so happy that I've got him.
Good. We had a kid from Maryville. His name was Richard Thomas, and he would come in and he's a little bit older than our kids, and we just kind of adopted him over holidays. You're not supposed to spend any money on him, spoil him, Well, that went by the wayside with my wife, and I, and we did that, and we really got to know Richard. And he told me one day, I said, what are you going to do, when you get old? Oh, he says, I want to go in the Army. He said, and I thought, well, that's good. That'll be a good education for you.
That's right.
Well, it stopped. I don't know for what reason of bringing him home. And the next thing I knew, John Smith called me and he says, I got some bad news, Bill. He says, Richard lost his arm in an accident
Wow.
in the laundry of Maryville. They were playing a game of the dryer going around and grabbing stuff out. Bingo.
Oh,
He
God.
lost his arm. Well, that was the end of the Army stuff for him. And then he just got older and he ended up in the joint. And it was a shame. Richard isn't with us anymore.
Yep.
Anyway, what are we doing here, John? We got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to talk more about the snow back in
I don't want to even see snow.
I was thinking, weren't a number of homeless people to stay warm able to ride the L's all night? But I think they've cracked down on that. You just can't go from one end to the other.
Yeah, I don't
reach.
think so anymore, Rich.
And I think for a while some were hanging onto the O'Hare terminals. Take
Yeah.
the blue line out to O'Hare. I think they cracked down on that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot of homeless out at O'Hare,
Yeah.
and then they, for whatever reason, they stopped it because they have they've got all the cots and blankets and stuff for the snow and weather emergencies where people are forced to stay over in the terminal for lengthy periods of time. So they've got the equipment there to to let them lay down or take a nap or whatever.
I see every so often we go to a Mexican restaurant in Arlington and hanging around there. And, of course, the track, we have to keep them out of the track. But I see homeless people that'll go into a library or in a parking garage that's under the roof, underneath. And I see a lot of that, or in a church. That's why the churches are all locked up now all the time.
You remember as a kid in the old Chicago Public Library, you'd see a lot of guys in the reading room, obviously homeless. They were just there to stay warm.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Now where do they go?
Well, I tell you what, this ice maker that we have right now, what was it this morning? It was like 0, and I don't think it's going to get too much higher than that during the day. How these people can even last out there.
Right.
You know? Oh.
I wonder how many are found frozen to death.
Oh, yeah.
Which you don't hear about. You'll never hear about that.
On the old the West Madison, when that was still all bums and
Like Skid Row.
transients, they had a wagon in the 12th district that it was the B&B. They actually had a beat. You see the beat numbers on the top of the squad cars and wagons. The B&B stood for bums and beggars.
Okay.
And in weather like this, they would go through the alleys and the doorways, during the night or early in the morning, and they would get, weather like this, they would get one or two.
Wasn't it recently they had some type of report about the homeless in the district stations? They'd come in there and sit around, and wasn't there an order out to get rid of them or not get rid of them?
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changes all the time.
Yeah. Is it John? It's your turn, Rich.
Is it closing time, John? Okay, well, I'll go right into the closing announcement then. We wish to thank Kevin of Jack FM WRHS 89.7 FM for broadcasting our shows over the Ridgewood Radio Network. Recordings of previous Meet the Chicago Historians programs are available for your listening pleasure via the internet at www.windycityhometown.com. We want to especially thank the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, John Seconda. This is your announcer, Rich Lang. We thank you for listening, and so long until next time.
Stay warm.
Yeah, you're here.
You have been listening to Meet the Chicago Historians from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Monday, January the 18th, the year of our Lord, 2016. This broadcast was produced by Jack Ryan, directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Seconda. Until next time, please be safe, and thanks for listening.